What? Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome.
It is another week of Dynasty Fantasy Football, another week of crazy takes, opportunity to pounce on underperforming players, maybe. Another week of seeing how the market reacts or doesn't react appropriately. Obviously, we cover a lot of this in the market report. Today, we're putting the Dynasty Points flagship spin on it. You're not going to want to skip a second of this podcast. The Dynasty Points podcast for September 23rd starts right now. We have Jacob. We have Ryan. No Lucas. He has been called to assignment. He cannot be with us today. But we do have his picks, so we don't have his picks yet, but his picks will be put in. We'll get to that at the end of the show. Today we have a player spotlight, something new that we are going to try. So we're going to highlight one player. We got a good one, a little bit of a throwback to an episode many, many weeks ago. We have Is the Market Right, where we each have a player where we determine whether or not the market has this player valued correctly. Then we're going to tell you who we think the market has wrong. And of course, like I mentioned, player picks. We see a ton of questions. Chat is here. Can't wait to get locked in with everyone. Jacob, Ryan, I want to start the show off with a player spotlight because, boy, oh boy, in training camp, much was said about said running back. In fact, much was said on this podcast about said running back, which started a trend. A trend that led to some comments that, of course, were a part of the comment review. Some of them were, these guys do great. Tom might be better doing a So You're New to Fantasy podcast. We had, quote, he better leave the logical reasoning segments to those who know how to do so. Those comments hurt, but have no fear. We're here to talk about them one more time because Jakori Kroski Merritt was a player that I said I wanted to see it. I wanted to see it when it mattered. He had two veterans that he needed to get through. Well, one got traded. One had a potentially career-ending injury. And then a guy that was inactive took the bulk share of the carries, even though JCM has been efficient. He's been explosive. He's looked like a nice player. Just the Eckler role was indeed the Eckler role. So I want to hear from you guys where you guys are at with JCM, because he has gone from everywhere as ranked to a first plus. Now he's like, do I just take any second? And everywhere else in between. We have seen some insane JCM trades in the Fantasy Points Discord. I want to hear from you guys. Where are we with Jakori Kroski Merritt? Because the my bags are packed to the moon talk has dwindled a little bit. Jacob, I'll start with you.
He has moved not that much in my rankings. He was a base 2 in my preseason rankings. I did move him up to the back end of the early 2 tier after the Eckler injury. I moved him back down. I think he's probably in the front half now of the base 2 tier after he just didn't sort of get all of that work right away. If you watch the game and if you've been following the watch the backfield closely, they've been doing this really weird rotation where in the first 2 weeks, Eckler would play the entirety of the first 2 drives, and then JCM would play the majority of the non-LDD snaps for basically the entire rest of the game. If you accept sort of once it became out of reach in Green Bay that they were just too far behind. So the Eckler role in the first 2 weeks was a mix of 2-minute drill, long down distance, pass down stuff. And then also this kind of weird early down role in which they started the first 2 drives, but then didn't have much of it for the rest of the game. They split that basically in 2 parts. So McNichols took all of the strict passing down stuff. And then Rodriguez was the back that they gave the first 2 drives to. But then Rodriguez did not do a whole lot for the rest of the whole game. JCM ended up actually having the most snaps by 1 over Chris Rodriguez for the game. And then McNichols kept mixing in throughout. So you're looking at like a 40-40-20 right now in terms of the split. it's like a barely startable role. Like he's in the streamer category basically every week in my stock watch. He's going to stay there until something changes. I think base 2 is fine. You're excited. There's plenty of rookie running backs who, were picked higher, way higher than JCM, who are not even playing at all, right? There's other guys who are mixing in but are clear backups. So if you're looking at JCM's role, the only guys, frankly, that have like way better roles right now are who? It's Genty, it's Hampton, it's Judkins, it's Scadaboo, which was in part injury related. That's like kind of it, unless I'm missing somebody. So yeah. I think that you should be happy. Just the concern is just no draft capital and no pass catching. So just like don't get crazy. I would never have him ranked like in the first round tier, because the ceiling requires a few things to go right, not just about the situation, but about the actual prospect profile. I'd buy for like a late 2 or that kind of value if I could right now, if somebody's panicking. I think this is more about them just viewing him as not being quite ready to move up to a bigger role. They kind of just kept him in the same role, but he's still a big piece of their offense right now. They're not phasing him out by any stretch.
I agree. And before I get to Ryan, John has said Jakori Kroski Merritt's nothing major. So we have opinions like that. Our boy John Atlas, who's ranked higher, JCM or Caleb. Caleb is like dead. Like I think like
I have JCM ranked higher, but I'll say I'm going to be trying to fire out Caleb offers. Like people come back from the dead at the running back position in Dynasty faster than people think. So I have JCM ranked higher. I have them both the same tier. If people are treating Caleb like he's already just like a throw in, which I've seen a couple times, I would like to get him at throw in prices, please.
Yeah, send a couple thirds up for Caleb possibly, but overall he's like one more mistake away from being a Canadian footballer, which
look at Trey Benson. He had like no role this time last year as a 3rd round pick. He was an earlier 3rd round pick. And I don't have the snaps in front of me, but like he was basically, it was Connor was playing the entirety of the game. DeMercado was playing every long down distance snap. I don't know if Benson was getting more than 5 to 10 snaps this time in his rookie year. And obviously took a lot of luck, took a James Conner injury, but like fast forward to year 2 and now he's worth a late first. So I'm just saying, it's the other thing too with Johnson, is like, unlike say Denver, Jakob is playing really good football right now. We could take it or leave it on Travis Etienne. I'm probably not been as pressed as some, but I probably have some bias there. Jaylen Warren has a great role. Their running game sucks ass. I think that basically every running game with an Aaron Rodgers offense at this point in time would probably suck ass, because he's not good and he's not mobile, and it's really hard to build a good running game with a quarterback who's not good or mobile. But like, I'm not all that enthused about. I'm not super sold that the Steelers love where their running game is at, is what I'm saying. And I think that there's an opportunity for Johnson some point later in the season maybe to work into that.
Yeah, I like that. Good little aside on Caleb there, but let's bring it back to JCM. Ryan, where are you at with him? Because you obviously dive so far into the data every single week because Scott locks you in your room. It's probably why that desk is there. He probably put it in there. And if you want more access to the data that Ryan's using and the articles that come out during the week, use Dynasty 2025. Get 15% off of all the subscriptions. Got to be a company man here, much as Jacob probably cringes every time. But Ryan, let's dig into some data or your opinion with Bill. I mean, Jake Trivia has talked about in pretty much every DFS video that I've ever seen him in, every live stream with the cage match, etc., that the role that we're talking about with JCM was historically not worth a lot with B-Rob. But what are you seeing with him in this role?
Yeah, so first I just want to say agree on everything you guys said about Caleb Johnson, essentially. Yeah, like I would prefer to have JCM at this point, but Caleb's not like dead for all those reasons. Yeah, the thing with JCM, as you're alluding to, Tom, is I don't think the ceiling is very good. Like, in terms of JCM as a pass catcher, we've never really seen it. 7 receptions throughout college. I know that he wasn't really asked to do that based on those college offenses, but yeah, we haven't seen it. We haven't seen the Commanders really all that interested in trying him in any long down and distance situations in the NFL. So I kind of don't get like what people's end game would be with JCM or what it would have been. Sorry, I guess I should say 2 weeks ago when he was going for like first round picks, which was always ridiculous to me. What I do buy is that if they are splitting the roles up a little bit differently than they were last year, where last year it was really just kind of 60-40, Brian Robinson mostly rushing, Austin Eckler like most of the receiving and long down distance, but it kind of 60-40 on each end with neither role in total being that valuable. With that not being exactly what they're doing this year, where it, as Jacob is saying, it's like the 40-40-20 with the 2 drives. I buy that if you think JCM is the most explosive runner and that his role can grow over the season, yeah, I could see him getting to 60 to 70% or higher of like the backfield carries by year's end. If you think that, yeah, again, that he's the best runner on the team, that's what it's looked like to my eye so far this year. I do think JCM is like the best pure runner. So yeah, by the end of the season, would I be shocked if he's getting that 60-70% rushing role? No. But is that actually even that valuable on a Commanders offense where you have Deebo Samuel, who has already stolen red zone touches on the ground? Obviously, Jaden Daniels / Marcus Mariota stealing goal line rushing attempts. And then again, with no pass catching, is that actually valuable? No. Like I don't ever see JCM being legitimately worth a first, or at least giving you the production that I would want to send a first. So yeah, I think he's a hold right now. If the best you can get is like a base 2, I wouldn't be like panicking. I think he probably grows his role over the season, but yeah, I don't think he's ever getting past like that weekly RB number 20 or so in terms of projection. So yeah, he's like the most talked about player in fantasy for like absolutely no reason, because yeah, the chances that he actually matters are extremely low.
All right, just checking that maybe I don't have CTE, but I love all that. He's the type of player that I've been telling people to use with another player to tier up somewhere else. Like he's just kind of that type of player. Now, again, I think that there is a path for the role growing. I don't see it being a Chris Rodriguez, Jeremy McNichols, JCM like trio through the year, but man, it's hard to it worked.
Can I just say, like, that backfield rocks, and it's like exactly what I wish more NFL teams would do. Like I as like a person who consistently goes on about, you know, I have tweets that get made fun of. To think like last year, for instance, I had a tweet that was like, I'm pretty sure every single running back in the NFL, every running back in the NFC, and 50 Division III backups are better than Ezekiel Elliott. And it's like as a person who is like very much like, give unheralded backs a chance. There's so many starting quality backs. Like I actually love what Washington's doing. I think Chris Rodriguez is a totally good runner. He's like a totally fine early down runner. I think JCM is as well. McNichols is a totally fine pass catching back. Like this backfield's good. They were super effective against a very good run defense and the Las Vegas Raiders this week. I think they can be effective whatever iteration of this backfield they do all year. And I thought it was just aggravating to me personally that like after Eckler went down, after they let go of Robinson, I've constantly been seeing people say like they've got to add a running back. Like it's unserious what they're doing. They have a better backfield than half the teams in the NFL. I would take their backfield by a million times over Chicago's backfield or over Kansas City's backfield. It's just they don't have names that we know, but these guys actually play and they play well.
Yeah, I got to tell you, boys, I'm just reveling in the topics and the conversation that we have here. You know, I didn't forget about the training camp stuff. Didn't forget. Had it locked and loaded, but I'm ready. That was good. Needed a good palate cleanser. Of course, we have our own comment review from last week that I definitely don't want to miss. Kyle Matson, 2666 says, thanks for the laughs and the good times as always, gentlemen. Shout out to you. At STMaster21 says, Tom sounds just like Spider-Man era Tobey Maguire. I got to ask you guys, I have gotten like 4 different Tom sounds like. I got the guy from, oh my God, what was Recession? I got that guy, or Succession. I got that guy. Now we got Tobey Maguire. I've looked like political YouTubers. I'm a chameleon over here. And we've got McLovin BS7MK. What a name. The way he introduced all the players in a total meme format. He said, I love it. So Jacob, again, people loving how we do the games here because, of course, we have fun here. You should too. Sit tight. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, we are diving into players that have moved that we think the market is correct on. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
This is Nick B, and I'm reading this ad because I was my fantasy league's biggest loser. So if you want to win your fantasy league and make more money, head to fantasypoints.com to get the edge you need.
N4 says 9:35 start time. What is this, TBS? Blame Jacob, Mr. West Coast over there, living the West Coast life. Not trying to take care of us Central and Eastern time, folks. Blame Jacob. Corn says...
I really loved that 10 Eastern time Monday night game. Can we get more of those?
No, please, God. Tom sounds like he really loves pumpkin spice lattes. I actually don't. I actually really don't like pumpkin spice anything. And John Atlas says, oh, God, hopefully not Tim Pool. I still don't know who it is, but yes, that's exactly who I got compared to. Okay, gentlemen, the chat is ready for us to dive in. I'm ready for us to dive in. Ryan, I want to jump straight to you because this is a player and an example as to why you have to be a little bit early. Obviously, if you want to talk about undervalued or potentially undervalued running backs, the Dynasty Points Market Report is there every single week. We literally have a segment called Bucks Backs, and it is just about fat-ass running backs, which means undervalued, potentially slow running backs that might score you 10 points one day. Trey Benson was in that portion of the show many times, and now look, we got the James Conner injury, and now you have him here going for a 26 or 27 first, those valuable 27 firsts. You think the market is right. Let's talk about why.
Yeah, so I want to say, like, Benson on all the market aggregator sites is much, much lower than that. These are like actual trades that you can look up that are currently happening, that I'm seeing happening in leagues. Yeah, it seems like the going rate for Trey Benson right now is a base first, essentially. And I think that's probably correct. So in my rest of season rankings, I have Trey Benson ranked as the RB14. I have him ranked ahead of basically every like RB2 guy that has kind of disappointed us. I have him ranked ahead of Judkins. I have him ranked ahead of Cam Scattaboo. I have him, ranked ahead of basically anyone that's not like a clear RB1 and is currently producing points this year. And the reason for that is after Connor went out, Benson just played a 3-down bell cow, bona fide, like fantasy RB1 looking role. 74% snap share, 62% route share, which would easily be a career high for him after he set a previous career high in week 2 and was actually utilized in the passing game, which was the one thing we had never seen with Trey Benson before that had kind of always kept me off of him before exactly after week 2. He is just going to be a 3-down back on the Cardinals. This is a backfield that is 13th in total expected fantasy points per game, which means it's a fairly valuable backfield. If you get most of that, then you are going to be a very valuable running back in fantasy for the rest of the season, essentially. So I feel good about Benson from a season-long perspective, and I feel pretty good about him from a dynasty perspective because this was a running back prospect that generally we liked. And if I remember correctly, he was Jacob's RB1 as well in a weak class, but generally pretty good prospect, good runner. He's been efficient so far this season, has broken off a few big plays. I think he's at least an above average talent. I think he's going to score a lot of fantasy points this year. That makes him worth, as the going rate, a 2026 first to me. I think that's totally fine. Now, I'm not like running out and saying, oh my God, I have to buy now because his price is going to go up. I don't necessarily think that's the case. but I kind of don't see how this like crashes and burns and fails, and you're super mad that you gave up a first for him. Because I just think he's going to produce a lot this year. Next year, James Conner, no money or no guaranteed money on his contract. That's not to say they're going to cut him or anything, but assuming Benson looks semi halfway competent or even better than that this year, he's probably going to be in a similar role next year, or projected as such at the very least. So yeah, I kind of just think the market's right on Benson. If you got him for like a second in the offseason, congrats. If you got him for 2 seconds before week 3, congrats. But now he's just going to be properly valued there at the going rate of a first.
Yeah, I'm not actively buying. I'll say this again. I'm comfortable with how much I am comfortable. I'll say this, if you play in a lot of leagues, right? If you're a mass league player and you don't have any shares and you want to get some, I get it. Or if you don't play in a ton of leagues and you don't have a lot of shares, I'm probably a little more hesitant. But I'm fine with the amount that I have just from his value being so low. I'm not looking to get any, but Jacob, I want to know where you're at with Benson, what price you're willing to pay, and where you see this ending up.
All right, well, I'll list off some running backs. I just did my Dynasty rankings update before the show, which is a rarity. Usually I do it after. These are all running backs that I have either a little ahead of Benson or a little behind Benson. So I'm curious what you guys think in Dynasty. Trey Benson or Cam Skattebo?
I think I prefer Skattebo.
I'd go Benson.
Okay, I'm on Skattebo there. Trey Benson or Derrick Henry?
I'd have Henry. If you could hang on to the ball.
I got Henry too, but by a little bit.
I'm still going Benson. Like I don't know if maybe I'm like super way off here, but to me, yes, there's going to be a fantasy points per game difference this year, but I am pretty confident Benson's going to be valued higher going into the offseason. So I don't I would rather have Benson.
Yeah. Vacuum for sure.
Okay, I'll do so. The next 3 running backs that I still have ahead of Benson are Jacobs, Kyron, and Walker. People have thoughts on those.
Oh man, I prefer. I'll take Kyron.
I'd narrowly take Jacobs. I would take Benson. Walker's weird right now for me in Dynasty. I'd take Walker too, I suppose, but not in redraft.
All right, and then these are the next set of running backs that I have after Trey Benson are in order. So I would take Benson over all of these. Are Bishal Tootin, RJ Harvey, Chuba Hubbard, then Jordan Mason, Jalen Warren, and then this is a sad one for Ryan. The next running back listed after all of those guys, Chase Brown.
It's sad for me, man.
Yeah, that'd be where I'm at. I think with Benson, like I did really like him as a prospect. It seems like some people still have like more conviction, I guess, on how well he will play than I do, even though I really liked him. It's just that was a while ago. It's been a year and a half. I think he's had moments in the NFL similar to how he had moments in college. He is definitely a big play runner. He has a good feel in the open field. He showed off good hands this year, which is a big benefit for him. I still have like a lot of concerns, I guess, about just like his sort of decision making on like a down to down basis. I could see a lot of 3-yard gains turned into 1-yard gains that might not matter in the short term for fantasy points because they don't have anybody else to give the ball to, but could definitely matter in terms of, is he a guy that the team relies on as a workhorse role going into 2026? So that's where I'm at with it. I think I have him like one of the last players in my late 1 tier right now. And I would not spend a first-round pick for him. I would demand a first-round pick in exchange for him, but I've definitely been trying to send offers to go and get him where possible. I haven't got any trades done yet today. I wish that I had some to share with the class, but I've definitely been giving it a shot, seeing what I can do on Benson. I think he's going to be a big hit for sure. I mean, he's in a great situation.
Yeah, I think what a little bit comes to it because I'm seeing some comments in the chat about Scattaboo, et cetera, et cetera. It's just that Scattaboo's a rookie. Benson's not. So I don't know if that should matter, but for some reason that matters to me. I think
people are,
but
they're the same age, I think, because Benson was a younger prospect by a year versus Scattaboo. So the same age. What I would say is just, I think people are focusing too much on Benson was the RB2 in his class. Scattaboo was the RB whatever in his class. Last year's class was horrible. And this year's class was awesome. If they were in the same class, I would have ranked Scattaboo higher as a prospect, just for reference. And Benson was my RB1 in this class, and Scattaboo was like my RB8. I thought the discrepancy between these classes was just so unbelievably extreme. So I think that it forced running backs down the board this year, forced running backs up the board last year. The other little nitpick I'll have is that I think that people are maybe, when I say people, I guess I mean Ryan, are being, in my opinion, slightly too optimistic about just saying, well, he was playing all the long down and distance stuff when Connor was in there. So now he's going to keep that, and he's going to also get all the other touches. My personal expectation is they wouldn't put that much workload on a young player in his first NFL start. I think he's going to give back the long down and distance stuff to DeMercado, and he'll play everything else. So basically the James Conner 2022, 2023 role, which is still awesome. I just think it's going to look more like 70% snaps than 85% snaps, if that matters. It's like probably the difference between being like RB14 or RB17. So I don't think it matters that much, but that's the one little nitpick I would have with you, and we'll see what happens there.
Yep. No arguments coming from me on that one. Well, with that being said, Jacob, who do you think the market has right?
Yeah, I think that the market has a lot right. Actually, I found it harder to choose this one than the wrong one because there was a lot of things that I thought that the market was doing very sharply in responding to new information. But I would say Justin Herbert being the Dynasty QB5 was something that I think that the market has right. I think I actually have him as QB4. Do I? That's true. I do. So maybe not quite right enough, but I think that the top 5 ranking on Herbert is good. Look, there was a few other things I could come up with in this category that the market has reacted to that I got very wrong. Namely, JSN, I think, has been appropriately vaulted up rankings. Roma Dunse has been appropriately vaulted up rankings. Herbert was one where we did the best ball versus dynasty show. And I said, I think that the best ball market is wrong. I think the dynasty market is right. I think he should be ranked way, way higher. And this looks super fun. I'm very excited about where Justin Herbert looks this year. It's like one of the only teams that's actually trying to pass and is having success doing it. His weapons look way better than we would have thought because QJ seems to be a legit player. They seem to be trusting him. It's just it's a good time for Justin Herbert, and in a spot where, frankly, we've seen a lot of other quarterbacks kind of in the area where Herbert was drafted look really bad. Having Herbert rise up the rankings, I think it's hard to not put him at least in like your top 6 at this point. Tom, you're on mute.
I apologize. Yeah, he I don't know offhand. I'm gonna go pull it up. Ryan, what do you got with Herbert? Because I know I was the most wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I would certainly have him as a top 5 dynasty QB. I would definitely rather have him than Patrick Mahomes right now. I think that's pretty easy. Yeah, it really just is. We had this kind of collection of QBs at like the 2-3 turn in startups this offseason, where it was like Herbert, who looks amazing, is scoring fantasy points. They're throwing everything Jacob just said. There's CJ Stroud, who that entire situation continues to look absolutely abysmal, as does Stroud. There's Bo Nix, who looks absolutely abysmal. And there's Drake May, who has been like very up and down, I would say. He's scoring fantasy points the last couple weeks, but actual real life NFL play, I would characterize as up and down. So yeah, Herbert is clearly the winner, like out of that pocket. I was largely just kind of avoiding a lot of those QBs in startups, and unfortunately drafting a lot of Drake London and Ladd McConkey instead. But yeah, Herbert was like the right pick to make there. I think everything Jacob said is pretty much spot on. That he's the one you wanted.
I have Justin Herbert QB5. There you go. When I updated my rankings, QB5. So I'm right there. Look, I'll wear the egg. I said that he should probably be drafted and will probably be drafted in the middle of round 2. I said that early in the offseason. Obviously, that's where he ended up going pretty much right around there. I don't know if he ever cracks back into round 1, but he rightfully deserves to be ahead of Burrow and a lot of those other guys. The running game is still weird to me there in LA. It doesn't feel like it's kind of how they planned, but man, Jacob, you nailed it. Healthy Herbert, bringing in Keenan Allen, which I think none of us reacted to probably appropriately if you look at where Ladd is.
Yeah.
And then there's Quinton Johnston stuff I'm honestly flabbergasted. I am. Look, man, I gave Brett Whitefield a ton of shit about him and he's a project receiver. Just give it time. It's going to happen for him. It's happening for him. The play where he got hit by multiple players and he just kept taking off. He still has a little bit of the hands issues. Like there's still some drop skis in there, but weird team drops don't matter really. Man, he has looked great. So, and now you get Gadsden. It's just like, you're right. It's hard to imagine him going back to being that run first team when he's dealing like this. So I'll wear the egg on my face for being as low on him as I was, even though I still liked a mid round 2. I definitely was wrong on him all last season. That's one of my biggest regrets was not drafting him enough. That's for sure. Player I have as the market, it's Quinshon Judkins. I mean, what more do you need to see? He looks great. He looks better than great. He looks like, we had talks about Hampton, staff hips, right? We've talked about Henderson and the role being weird. And then even, after the Gibson fumble, we had, I believe it was like 22 snaps to compared to everyone else for Henderson, but the efficiency wasn't great. The offense was weird this week. Just a weird game. So we'll see what happens with him. But I would argue that Judkins already looks like the second best to the best rookie running back, like out of the everyone not named Ginty, because his stats don't look great. But boy, Ginty looks like an absolute baller. But this last week kind of proved that it wasn't just garbage time against the Ravens. Like, he looks great. 7 forced missed tackles already, and he has caught some passes already. He is worth every penny. Me and Buck talked on the market report about how we should kind of not care as much about the legal stuff. Once obviously a decision was going to happen that, no charges, whatever. We're not the lawyers. That's Jacob's line of work. Well, we are fantasy football managers, and we know that when stuff like this happens and a player gets cheaper, you should buy just in case. And the value has already bounced back immediately. And I think that is appropriate. I think the dynasty market tends to wait too long to correct. Looking at where he's jumped up to, Quinshon Judkins has jumped up 35 spots according to Keep Trade Cut. He is sitting at RB10. And he has played 2 games, no preseason, nothing. He's not in a ideal pass-catching role in an offense that stinks. But he did it against the Packers. And, well, say what you want about the Ravens, and they're absolutely can't stop a bleeding nose defense, but obviously still being able to do it there as well. He looks great. Passes the eye test. People that thought he couldn't force missed tackles, guys, unreal. Shout out Graham Barfield, who did yards created and said, no, he thinks he's better than Trevion Henderson at forcing missed tackles. And I took that and ran. He was Bucks RB2 in the class. Just unreal. I think the market is right. He is who I am sending a first for. You want to talk about Benson or Judkins? If that right now they're
Judkins is got to be valued way higher, isn't he?
in our Discord, and remember, a lot of the stuff when I talk about for trades, I take right from our subscribers in our Discord. Link in the description if you want to get in there. The Dynasty side is free. A lot of us are asking, should I trade this first and whatever a third for Judkins? If the difference is a third between Benson and Judkins, I'm gonna pay that. Obviously, I think the market has nailed this. I think they reacted on time. If you bought, congratulations. If you held, congratulations. This is why I don't try to predict what the NFL is going to care about. We don't know what the NFL is going to care about legally for anything on any given situation. We bet on the talent. We did bet on the talent and just completely ramped up. I think Sampson isn't a terrible running back. I think he's also very good. But, I mean, Judkins just came and snatched his chain like immediately. And that is what it is. He was drafted ahead of him. I think Sampson's a really good pass catcher. I think he really showed out in week 1. He's probably not getting a fair shake. I think he could limit a little bit of Judkins' total upside. And, of course, we'll see what happens when inevitably one at least of the rookie running backs come into play. But, guys, I'm all in on this Judkins thing. I was in a little earlier, and it's nice to see the market reacting appropriately. He's just behind guys like James Cook. He's 1 spot behind Hampton. He's 1 spot ahead of McCaffrey, 2 from Henderson. He's well past Kyron. There's, just a very appropriately priced player. What say you guys?
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty much correct. I would definitely prefer Judkins to Benson in Dynasty. I've been telling people I would rather have Benson in redraft, just because in the shorter term, I don't know that kind of this long, not even just long down and distance, but pass catching role in general that is kind of so important in at least the Joe Flacco version of a Browns offense. I don't see that like moving away from Jerome Ford in the short term. But I mean, with Judkins, you kind of have a longer runway. He's a younger prospect. Like all that stuff can kind of work itself out, even if it's in year 2 or year 3. Yeah, I would much rather have like Judkins bags in Dynasty than Benson, even if I think Benson scores more points this year.
Yeah, I don't have those guys particularly close. My recent update, I have Judkins at 40 overall. That's 2.5 tiers higher than where I have Benson. He's right in there. The running backs, the same tier as Judkins, and I have them in order. Go Jonathan Taylor, Marion Hampton, James Cook, Bucky Irving, Devon Achane, Trevion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins, Saquon Barkley, then Breece Hall.
Yeah. Hard.
Here's the trade I would recommend everybody make today. Saquon Barkley for Quinshon Judkins and a third. See what happens.
Saquon Barkley and Quinshon Judkins. And that's going to be hard for people that want points. That's going to be a hard pill to swallow.
I think Saquon Barkley is like he's had more games already this season under 4.3 yards per carry than he had all of 2024. There's a material difference in the football player that he is this year versus last year.
Wow.
I have Judkins ranked straight up higher in Dynasty.
Okay.
Oh God, I'm the Saquon defender now.
I don't know if you have to only get that. I think that's a situation where I think you could get more out of them from most.
Right, I'll try a second. All right, I'll send one. I've been thumbing through leagues as we do this, trying to send Scatterbo trades, trying to send Judkins trades. I just sent Barkley for Judkins in a 2. We'll see what happens. I know that person's not a listener, so.
Oh well. All right, Ryan, you said you're the Barkley defender.
Yeah, to me, like my biggest concern with Barkley in terms of like how many points he's going to score this year is the Eagles offense, right? Like we've seen them go from top 10 in situation neutral pace to bottom of the league in situation neutral pace. They very clearly do not want to throw unless they are completely forced to, and not just throw. They don't want to actually play offense unless they're completely forced to. So like the flow of an Eagles game is going to be, we play extremely slow for the first few drives. If Saquon breaks off a long run, which he really hasn't yet this year, but if at any point he does on the first handful of drives, then great. It's a positive game script. Saquon will keep getting it. Maybe he'll break off more long runs. If he doesn't, though, and the game just stays neutral or they fall behind, then yeah, Saquon is kind of screwed. But I will say it from like ignoring like the context of the Eagles offense, Saquon's role is actually a lot better this year. He has a higher target share. He has a higher snap share. All of the peripheral numbers are much better. It is basically just that he hasn't broken off the 80-yard touchdowns yet. But there were also several games where he didn't do that last year. He in like the top 50% of his games, he was averaging something insane, like 29, 30 fantasy points per game. In the bottom 50%, it was like 12. So I think part of it is just that this is the type of player Saquon is. Like, I think we could just be seeing like 3 of kind of the not in totally insane games at the start of the year, and they could be coming. So yeah, I don't know. I'd be careful about like downgrading Saquon. I think Saquon for Judkins in a 2 is like totally fine in Dynasty. I don't think you're gonna hardcore regret that like a year from now or anything. But if you're a contender, I'd be careful about like panicking on your Saquon bags.
I think all that's pretty fair. Hard pressed to. I don't know if someone's going to sell. Oh man, that you guys have got me thinking about Barkley now in Dynasty and how I approach him if I'm buying or selling. I saw something.
I'm not saying Saquon is washed by any stretch.
No.
No. I just think that he doesn't look like a player who's going to have league-winning production this year. Like if I was doing, I'll be doing my rest of season redraft rankings next week. On thinking. I doubt he would be in my top 6. I think he'll be like closer to 9-10. Like for the rest of the season, I would definitely rather have Jahmyr Gibbs. I'd definitely rather have Bijan. I'd definitely rather have Taylor. I would rather have James Cook. I'd rather have Achane. I would rather have. I'm trying to think of other backs now. I'd rather. Not sure if I'd rather have Bucky, but I might.
He'd rather have Javonte.
I probably wouldn't, but it might be closer, certainly closer than I thought it would be. I'll say that. Yeah, I think I'd rather have Bucky. So I think I'd put Saquon 7. I think I'd rather have Henry too.
Well, if he could hold on to the ball. Again,
just for rest of season stuff, Saquon is my RB6, so I'm a little higher than Jakob. But okay. I hear you. I still wouldn't go Bucky or James Cook over Saquon.
I'm not sure about the Bucky one. That I'm like on the fence. James Cook though, I would for sure.
Man, Rachaad White does look kind of good. He does.
Like Rachaad White's role sucks. Like
it does suck.
Like Rachaad White's is not doing it. We're like 18% of the routes.
I'm just saying he looks good. He looks, he looks a little fresh.
Looks a lot better in a nice little contained role that he should.
Yeah. Not bad to consider that offensive line is completely decimated. Not bad. Quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about some stuff that we think the market's gotten wrong, and interested to see what the chat has got to say. We also have a bunch of chat questions, so maybe with the game today without Lucas, we can answer some questions and go that way and just make the game really quick. We can answer some questions towards the end. We'll definitely do that. Sit tight. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
45 seconds? Nah, that. This ad is over after I say fantasypoints.com.
Okay, let's dive into some stuff that we think the market has wrong. And Ryan, this one has the opportunity to work against you in the worst way. Mike Evans going to miss a few weeks. Godwin not reportedly real close to coming back. Egbuka has a chance to just have the runway, but you don't think the market is evaluating him correctly. Why?
All right. So yeah, in terms of like, will Egbuka score a bunch of fantasy points over the next 3 to 4 weeks? I think probably yes, to be clear. This is not like a Egbuka fade. I think he's bad. I think you need to trade him type of deal. I think this is more, I don't see him being over the guys the market currently has over him. Namely T-Mac, Tetairoa McMillan, Nico Collins, And even Brian Thomas Jr., I would still rather have than Emeka Egbuka. I turned down a 1-for-1 BTJ Egbuka trade earlier this week. And just diving into Egbuka, I mean, look, he's the wide receiver 29 in expected fantasy points per game. He has found the end zone well. He has looked good. I don't think he's like a bad receiver or anything like that. But when we think about the competition and the guys who are ranking him over, this is Brian Thomas Jr., the guy with like a top 3 or top 4 rookie season of all time, just by total fantasy points. T-Mac, who was a better prospect per everybody, still looks amazing on film per everybody, actually has a much larger role in terms of expected fantasy points through the first 3 weeks per the fantasy points data suite. It just, in Dynasty, I'm still taking T-Mac. Will Egbuka score more points this year? Potentially. Still not even that obvious to me, but yeah, I would rather have T-Mac than Egbuka. And Nico Collins, he is just such a stud, like such a physical specimen. I hate everything about this Houston offense. I think possibly it starts to look a little bit better with Christian Kirk kind of being another guy that can just operate in the short and intermediate areas, open things up for Nico a little bit. Had a good week 3. Like I don't see, I'm just not at the point where we've seen enough from Egbuka to rank him over these like elite players. It's going to be hard to get like 1-for-1 trades done in practice, I think, for anybody that owns any of those other guys. But I do think getting up from Egbuka to like a true like 1-2 turn type of startup player, if you possibly can. I have traded from Egbuka up to Ashton Jeanty a week ago, trying to get from Egbuka up to I don't know, like I'm just at a loss for names right now. At any like top 3, top 4 dynasty running back, like adding a bit to Egbuka to get up to there, I think is good for contenders. That's pretty much my whole Egbuka take, is like you can sell him for more now than I think you probably should be able to based on what we've seen.
Yeah, before JSN really shot up on the mini pod that I do at the start of the week, I think it was last week, I was talking about how Egbuka was ranked in that top 12. JSN wasn't there yet. If you had the opportunity, you could do, JSN straight up or get a little something on top right now, depending to see how the market is caught up. And I mean, that already looks like it's cash. The Nico stuff is weird. His age, I think, is going to play a role in him staying in the top 10. How this season goes is going to play a role. That's definitely an interesting one. Jacob, anything to add before we answer the super chat that somebody generously donated?
I totally agree with everything that was said, but I do want to hit on a question in the chat that was directed to me and about Egbuka. And it asked, now I can't find it, but it was basically, what are you doing putting Egbuka over Brian Thomas in your dynasty rankings? For the most part, I think you can just refer to last week's episode. I think Brian Thomas is playing like complete and utter shit. So that's why Emeka Egbuka is ahead of Brian Thomas in my dynasty rankings. I think that Egbuka this week was probably his most impressive week to me, even though he didn't score a touchdown. He drew targets on 36% of his routes. Looked great. He's about to get the no Mike Evans opportunity for a while. That's going to be, I think, potentially huge for him. He just looks like a really good player. And I guess just the question at this point is, do we think it's more likely that he is a really good player in the Chris Olave is a really good player mold? Or is he a really good player in the JSN is a really good player mold? And I don't know yet. We'll see. I think that the market, unfortunately, at this point, is probably pricing in too much certainty that he is the like super high upside guy compared to the Olave type guy. I'm hopeful that I've tried to split it in my rankings. So I have him 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9, 10, 11. I have wide receiver 11 in Dynasty. So a little bit behind the 8.
In the market.
So I have him below the market. What is it? I'm just double checking my count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh, I have him 12. Oh boy. I guess I am really fading him. I'll say that the 3 wide receivers I have directly ahead of him, I have Tetairoa McMillan at 9. I have Rome Odunze at 10. I have Wilson at 11. I have Egbuka at 12. Right behind Egbuka, I have Drake London, Brian Thomas, Ladd McConkey. So I am reacting quite strongly to the Egbuka stuff. It's specifically him being above Tet that I don't quite understand. I think Tet's underlying usage has been actually more impressive. He was a better prospect. I think he has a higher ceiling. He's like the early declare. He wins everywhere. He's got alpha size. So that's where I would still try to get Tet plus, but I'm definitely excited by Egbuka.
Yeah, market has Egbuka 8 and Brian Thomas Jr. 9, according to some of the consolidation sites. So, I mean, yeah, they've really rocketed him up. I would also be looking to make any of those trades to Tet, Rome, Zay Flowers, Reishi plus. I mean, there's opportunity there. I think you're right. I think you're bailing a little bit too quick on Brian Thomas Jr. I really do.
I mean, I just don't know what to do with this. Like, to me, it's one thing to have bad variance for a good player, right? Like, what's driving me a bit crazy is the people that are still very pro Brian Thomas. I feel like it's being presented to me as though, like, well, what are you doing? Like, he's a great player, and it's just kind of bad variance. Like, I get it. If he was just like overthrown 8 times on 12 targets and he has 4 catches, I don't care. I'm not like that reactive, but like, yeah, is Trevor playing well? No, but like anybody who's going to be honest about it has to just watch the games and tell me that Brian Thomas is not the author of his own inefficiency right now. He's dropping balls all over the place. He's making mistakes constantly. He's running terrible routes. Through 3 weeks, if he had played like this in his rookie season, he'd be one of the worst wide receivers in the league, and I'd be saying he should lose his snaps. Like, it's incomprehensible how much he's killing their team right now. Now, we obviously have a full year of him playing awesome before that, so I'm not saying we just throw the whole baby out with the bathwater. I still have him as being worth like a first and a half. But like, yeah, I find it really alarming when a player that is super highly valued, there is no other player anywhere close to his valuation in Dynasty who is playing as badly as he is right now. And it's not just scoring as badly, it's playing as badly. Now, I just don't really know what to do with that. Like, I could hope that he's going to start playing better. And I think that's probably pretty likely. Otherwise, I'd be ranking him as like a 3rd round pick if I thought this was how he was going to play for the rest of his career. But I care that he's played horrible this year. I don't know what to do. Like, if you were an offensive coordinator, if you were Liam Cohen right now, you're game planning for week 4. Like, are you building the offense around Brian Thomas? I don't know how you can. He's not in the right spot. He doesn't catch the ball. Like, what are we doing?
No. So yeah, I agree. I agree up to the point of like, yes, he's playing terribly, and it's not like just T-Law or anything like that. But I think, to me, what I do with that is I say, well, with all the evidence of him playing really well, we've never really seen him, to my knowledge or to my recollection, have specifically like drop issues before, is like a totally new thing. To me, that like the most likely explanation is actually what the team is saying, which is that he's playing injured and he has a wrist injury. That would make the most sense to me. Not to say that like excuses some of like the business decisions or anything.
Then sit him.
But it makes it most likely it's just most likely to me that that's what's happening, and that it's a short-term thing, and therefore I don't really want to react to it. Is more how I'm approaching it.
I'm more willing to look at it as maybe some second year yips, right? More than, but we know about the yips, right? Especially if you're a baseball fan, sure. And you grew up watching guys like Chuck Knobloch get the yips. When a player gets the yips of any kind, it can be devastating. So I think we'll see what happens to him. I think he's still, we're talking about a guy still being ranked as the wide receiver 9.
Well, that's my concern. It's not like he's in free fall. If he was in free fall, I would be saying buy. Like, maybe I'll put it a different way. That's not about like, will Thomas be good or bad? It's like, of all of the really exciting good young players right now, why do I have to pick the one who's playing terribly? Like, why can't I just trade him for one of the other good young players who's playing good right now? Like, I just don't know why I would rather have him than Rome Odunze, or why I'd rather have him than Emeka Egbuka. I get he was way better than these guys last year, and I get we had this pre-existing value coming into the year. But these other guys have now done things to be in that vicinity. And you could argue Thomas should be over them or they should be over Thomas. That's fine. I just like all things being equal. If the market is letting me swap, and to be clear, I haven't done any Thomas trades yet. So I haven't been able to. But like, if the market is letting me swap the player has that really high value and is causing me stress every single day for a player who is equally valued and equally exciting and isn't going to cause me that stress, like, I'd rather do that. I'd just rather live a stress-free existence. And then I hope that Thomas gets it together and he plays great. And I can probably trade for him again sometime. But like, why does it need to be Brian Thomas? That's what I just don't get. It's like, why does it need to be this specific player? Why can't I just have the same thing in a less stressful body?
Yeah, I look, I totally understand that. I'm holding on to my Brian Thomas. As I also haven't tried to do Brian Thomas Jr. trades. I want to see it pan out, but yeah, I don't think he's in Marvin Harrison Jr. territory, right? Like, so I think that's the differentiator for people is like,
he's shown stuff. Harrison never has.
Right. I can see people taking what you're saying as like, oh, you're treating him like Marv, right? I can see how people could hear that, like, but that's not the case. I get it. I've been doing this.
I have Brian Thomas ranked 30th overall. Still a very highly valued player on my rankings.
Right. I look at him kind of like how I'm starting to look at like Drake London, right? Like, look, he's been great. He was great. Some per route stuff was really good. It's just not kind of clicking and happening. And how do we handle that? That's kind of where I'm at with. He's in that range for me. The Drake London, BTJ, and even Nico tier for me. If you guys remember with Nico with me, Brian, going back to what you said about Nico, said I want to see the elite over an entire season for once before I anoint him. And I'm still waiting. Like, I'm still underweight in Dynasty on somebody like Nico Collins. So I think wide receiver is a weird and tricky position. I think as Dynasty managers, they might be overvalued. I hate to keep talking about, I don't actually hate about keep talking about Market Report, but on Market, we talk about how like the Dynasty community is fake against running backs. Like, they're against them when no games are being played in the off season. And it's all about wide receivers, so they get pushed up every single board all the time in value. And then as soon as the season kicks off, it's like, hope you got all those running backs, and this wide receiver is struggling a little. Like, do we bail? And I think we're just in the midst of that cycle a little bit right now after week 3. So I'm willing to wait it out and see what happens. But going back to the initial player, I think this Egbuka thing is, I think there's opportunity to gain some value. I think we missed the opportunity to go and get Amon-Ra. We missed the opportunity to go and get JSN, but there's still some opportunity before the market totally corrects on maybe Tet or Rome, other young players like that, especially if there's pluses involved, right? And like I said, there's a clear pathway. So we'll see. JP says Marv will be fine. I don't know. Those 2 drops were pretty egregious. We've been waiting for him to be fine for quite a while. I'm going to continue to be a fade on that one. Speaking of Drake London, actually, Jacob, Drake London is the player you think the market has wrong. So I had forgotten about it, but I'm going to say and take credit that I've mastered the segue here, and I looked at the show sheet and I'm setting you up for this. Yeah,
I mean, look, we all just talked, as though I don't like Brian Thomas Jr. I have Brian Thomas Jr. ranked a full tier ahead of Drake London right now. Actually, maybe that's not true. It's not true.
Let's check.
It's not true. It's not true. I have them in the same tier. But I do have them in the same tier, which is both, I think, a tier or 2 lower than I had them at the beginning of the season. With London, it's always felt like he's like, maybe this is just a me thing. I don't think so. I think other people can maybe relate to this. It's never felt like he's quite as good as his stats to me. And that's probably just because he's not that great of an athlete. He's fine after the catch. He's not elite at it. And so his path to ceiling games is kind of narrow. It's like the 10 for 130 path. And that is concerning to me because that requires, I think, a very good situation in a way that not all wide receivers are necessarily as dependent on as I think London is, as that sort of possession volume hog type archetype. And I thought going into the season, he would have that really good situation. it looked like he was going to have probably a high pass rate offense, potentially a fast offense. Michael Penix, a quarterback who he really showed promise with the end of last year, one that was really especially successful throwing deep, wasn't the type to check down. It seemed like everything was coming together for London to have this massive target share in a really favorable spot, and get sort of the most out of what he is as a player. Penix, though, has looked pretty bad so far through 3 games for the most part. Looked fine week 1, been pretty terrible week 2. And then we've also seen probably in response to Michael Penix looking pretty bad. They've ran the ball more. They've been slow. They've used more 12. And London is still kind of earning targets at the same rate as Darnell Mooney whenever they play together. So I think it's like time to maybe abandon hopes of London performing like an absolutely elite wide receiver. He's still a really good wide receiver for sure. But I think like the gap on value on him versus like Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson, who is kind of an easy threesome to compare since they all went within like 4 picks of each other once upon a time, was massive coming into this season. And I think should not be as massive. I mean, frankly, Garrett Wilson, you want to talk about showing results. He's a guy who never shows results. He's finally showing results this season. He's lighting it up with freaking Justin Fields and Tyrod Taylor at quarterback. So I would rather have Garrett Wilson, I think, straight up than Drake London right now. I think he's the more talented wide receiver in a vacuum, and he's making it work in a situation that London kind of isn't. And I think Olave should probably be a lot closer. So I would trade for London to try to get one of those types of guys plus, or see if I can still use that London helium to move up and get one of those true elites without adding too much value.
Yeah, I'd rather have Rome straight up. I would rather have rather have Garrett Wilson. I think I'd rather have Rasheed. And I think London is probably in the same tier in and around Zay for me. Zay has rocketed up my rankings. I remember you tweeted, if you have JSN in your top 12, why don't you have Zay? I'm right there with Zay. I think Zay is my wide receiver 13 or 14 right now. So I'm there with you with the Drake London stuff. If you guys remember going back to last year, I said, I am concerned that the Drake London stuff at the end of last year was rookie quarterback getting into a game and hyper targeting the wide receiver 1 over and over and over and over again. When he gets his reps, maybe if he's a good quarterback, he balances it out. That was my fear last year. That's kind of come true. Kyle Pitts also kind of not dead, maybe a little bit, kind of interesting. And the Darnell Mooney stuff makes me go a little higher register, if you would, with Drake London. Like, no, maybe it's not totally. So I'm buying in a little bit more with it. He is also the poster child for what I like to say every year. What a player does in those last 2 to 3 weeks will completely outweigh, if it's really good, any of the worry that we had throughout the year. And again, if you guys remember, our nickname for Drake London, or at least mine, Bucks and mine, was Little Points London, because most weeks he was not the mass scorer that we were hoping to have. And he's very much at the risk of becoming part of the dreaded nesting doll wide receiver tier. Like, he's close. He's very, very close. And maybe it's the offense, maybe it's the quarterback, but yeah, I'm wearing a little bit of egg on my face for how much Drake London I've kept drafting and trading for, and here we are. We're here asking those questions already. And you're right. I'm right there with you. I think the market's a little off on this one, Ryan.
Yeah, not like a whole lot to add. Yeah, I think probably the most concerning thing is just that Penix doesn't look good. That's really what it comes back to for me. The usage has also been a little bit weird, or at least a little bit different and worse. So London was kind of getting like a lot of this big slot stuff last year that he has not been getting as much of this year. Like Kyle Pitts is playing a little bit more in the slot. Ray-Ray McCloud, when he is on the field, is in like taking up a higher share of the team's overall slot routes. They have 2 other guys whose names I don't even remember that were like rotating in and out for Darnell Mooney as well in the slot. So he's much more being deployed just as like this boundary wide receiver, which is generally just worse for fantasy if you're not like a complete total elite alpha. And even if you are, getting in the slot once in a while is nice. So that is also an issue. Yeah, I don't really disagree much with anything you guys are saying on the valuation here.
Yeah, this is where we're at, I think. So we'll see. We'll see how the rest of it goes. Maybe Penix gets a little better, but things are a little weird. It's also acquired Ron. Drake London has a 27% target share and was slightly injured week 2, and is 24. Flowers has a 30% target share and is 25. And Flowers is also attached to one of the best quarterbacks in football in a really good offense. So that's definitely part of it for me. Anyway, moving on. The player, I'll say the player I think the value has wrong, way too low on, is Matthew Golden. I think that because I've been talking about Matthew Golden on the mini pods and on Market Report the last little while. I was a little low on him. I think he passes the eye test. Keep in mind, I'm no film guy. I'll be the first person I'm not that guy if you're ever looking for it, but we are 4 balls from Jordan Love to Matthew Golden. Talk about him in a completely different light. Obviously, you want more targets. I get it. Wide receiver 28. He's gone down 4 spots. I'd rather him over Pickens and Metcalf and DeVonta. Maybe not over Worthy yet, but man, we're talking about an underthrow from Jordan Love in the end zone. A little late, a little underthrown on 4th down, touchdown. Later in that game, deep ball, wide open, and I mean wide, like burned them. Jordan Love looking for him, misses him by a step or 2, maybe. House. Last week, deep ball down the right side of the field. I don't know if it was Golden not being able to readjust the route. Maybe it was where Jordan Love placed the ball to the sidelines. He had the entire defense beat down the side. That was a massively long touchdown. Again, I like the QB school. Shout out JT O'Sullivan. He likes to say, like, the only way we know how that's supposed to be developed is if we are in the room. We don't know if, maybe the route wasn't run totally right, whatever. But Jordan Love places that ball inside a little bit more, and Golden adjusts that route a little bit. He's housed that. So that's 3 easy ones right there. In week 1, there were also a couple. So we're talking about 5 passes to Matthew Golden that easily could have been housed, and we're off by a couple steps. And I think if he scores any one of those, we're looking at him right in the T. Higgins, Jameson Williams range. He is a Jameson Williams type player. That's what is it? The complimentary and derogatory was like a big on Twitter. Yeah. That's Jameson Williams complimentary, right? Like that's a good thing for him and where he's at. And he's being valued in and around guys like Keon Coleman, fake week 1 breakout Keon Coleman, and guys I'm over completely like Jaylen Waddle. And I want the upside that somebody like Matthew Golden has. He's losing value. He's sitting at wide receiver 28. Jaden Reed's had the double surgery. Don't care about Christian Watson. Sorry, Ryan. Why they even paid that guy, I don't know. Blows my mind.
Charity work.
Yeah. Obviously, I love that Tucker Kraft is like wide receiver 1 on that team. I love that. I was Team Tucker, right? He's one of my original like tight end sleepers when Musgrave was still like the guy. I love that. Don't get me wrong. But there is a path for Matthew Golden. He changed his number away from that terrible 22 running back number. It's still a terrible number in 0, but drip score has gone up. I'm not a film guy. This is a total vibes take. Yes, Ty, this is live. This is more of a vibes take. The data obviously isn't phenomenal for Golden, which, look, Fantasy Points data. We got some nerds on this show that are really good with data. His expected fantasy points per game is only 5.7. So there's, obviously not a lot, not a lot there, but watching.
I would kind of disagree. I'd kind of disagree on the data end. Like, we actually had a note about him in the everything report this week.
I haven't gotten to read that yet, Ryan, but thank you.
Okay,
You can
gotcha.
see the everything report by using Dynasty 2025 15% off. I haven't had the time to do that. It was released a little later. How do I know this? Subs were DMing me asking me when it was coming. So I definitely know that one. But I'm just saying, like, when I say data, I mean 5.7 expected fantasy points per game. He's only scored 5.1. What I mean is, like, most people would see that and be like, he's ass. Ass, not the metric. But ass, the metric, I imagine really good. Can't wait to hear the nuggets you're about to give us. But definitely more of a little bit of a vibes guy for me. I'm waiting. I'm excited. Ryan, tell me why I'm right here.
Yeah, I mean, he's 5th best in ass right now, which is, pretty encouraging. 71% route share immediately as soon as Jaden Reed goes away. Like, we have seen the Packers kind of do this extremely obnoxious committee at wide receiver for basically Matt LaFleur's entire tenure there. And that's not really what they did in week 3, which is encouraging in itself that Golden's an actual full-time player running full-time routes. He led the team in receiving yards in his first game without Reed as well. So this week they get the Cowboys. Week 5 bye. Maybe you get a post-bye usage jump for a rookie, which we typically see. Yeah, I would love to squeeze whatever value I can out of Jamison Williams to tear down to Matthew Golden for whatever the commensurate value in rookie picks is right now. That sounds like an awesome idea to me.
Yeah, I think the market's a little bit behind on Matthew Golden. You want to be in beforehand. I'm willing to swing and miss. That's just how I'm looking at him. I think we're gonna look at the end of the year. I made a trade late in the off season, like early in the season. I traded away Kyler Murray and Matthew Golden for Caleb Williams. I was in my get out of as much Kyler as I could because I was over like 40% exposure. Needed to get out a little bit. I was like, yeah, I'll throw Matthew Golden on top. I'll get Caleb. I think, so far the Caleb thing, not bad for fantasy points anyway. But I think I'm going to end up regretting that a little bit just with how good Matthew Golden is. So I was a little bit early to turn away. And I really like where Matthew Golden is for as a buy right now. So market is wrong, but in the positive light for us anyway.
Yeah.
As fantasy managers. So that's it. I wouldn't say way better than Jameson Williams. No, I'm not going to go there. He's a good player. Jameson Williams is in like the best possible situation for his skill set. That offense is awesome. They're just going to continue to do it. And I was like, oh, there's no way they're going to get better from no, they are. They're unbelievable. Man, he's unbelievable. But to me, they're pretty much a similar type of player. My favorite type of flex player. I love him. So, all right. Quick break. When we come back, we're going to answer some questions, spotlight some comments, and get our player picks in. I can't wait. Sit tight. Don't go anywhere. You are not going to want to miss it.
45 seconds? Nah, f*** that. This ad is over after I say fantasypoints.com.
Yeah, Jameson Williams, not a star at all, but he definitely has his role in that offense. Again, I'm not going to sit here and talk about it too much, but boy, real life people faded Amon-Ra St. Brown. Again, real life people on the internet actively faded Amon-Ra St. Brown again. The most attainable elite fantasy wide receiver available in Dynasty for years. Unbelievable. Unreal. Anyway, let's quickly do our player picks. All right, Ryan absolutely smoked us last week. We do not have Lucas's picks. He's going to have his in tomorrow. Snooze, you lose. But Ryan, you absolutely roasted us because you had Hunter Henry, Keenan Allen. That is disgusting. Who do you got this week, real quick?
All right, yeah, we got Geno Smith against the Bears. Still very beat up secondary. Just like the matchup. I was the first to the sheet, so I was the one who got to pick Trey Benson against the Seahawks. He will probably not be ranked outside the top 20 running backs on expert consensus ever again this season, but I'm going to enjoy it this week while he is. Quentin Johnston at wide receiver against the Giants. Can't believe we're here with QJ, but yeah, real player, actual contributor, will score fantasy points. And then I went with David Njoku against the Lions. Saw Harold Fandon come to a season low route share last week. Max Deshano was in my DM saying he didn't even look good. So I'm gonna go with Njoku here. Just picking between kind of Browns tight ends and the negative game script.
All right, Jacob. Once again, you're right up there. I'm closer to you now. I'm getting closer.
You are.
I'm only 3.1 points behind you.
All right,
Ryan.
At quarterback, I'm sticking with Carson Wentz. I'm just gonna play Carson Wentz in this game every single week until I was gonna say until JJ McCarthy gets his job back, but I'll just play him right through week 17 actually. And then we'll play Alvin Kamara at running back. The Buffalo Bills, I don't know if it's something about their scheme or what. I'm not smart enough to know. I just know that they tend to give it up to running backs in the receiving game, and they have basically as long as Sean McDermott's been coach. So I expect Alvin Kamara to catch plenty of passes this week. Look, Tom just did such a good job of talking him up. I had to take him. Matthew Golden this week is my pick at wide receiver. And then Dallas Goedert. It's my pick at the tight end position. Todd Bowles' defense is always very blitz heavy. They leave the middle of the field wide open. I always like playing running backs and tight ends against them.
I think that's fair. That's fair. I'm going to go Justin Fields versus Miami because it's Miami. So I think Justin Fields terrible. But I think
an injury backup on that, or a little
want an injury backup?
Daring?
I only didn't pick him because I was afraid he might miss with a concussion again. But
are you also Aaron Glenn was non-committal to him starting if he's healthy.
I'll take my bet. Do I have?
They said will Justin Fields play after he returns from his concussion? And Aaron Glenn said he was our starter.
Oh, I missed that one. Yikes.
Didn't say he is our starter. He said he was our starter. So he also didn't say he's not our starter. But I would say it's like, I don't know, it's up in the air.
You're just putting that in to cast doubt upon me, which good move on your part because now I have
giving you an opportunity.
If you're gonna you're giving me an out, is what you're saying?
I'm giving you an opportunity.
Okay, I'll play Sam Darnold instead. If Justin Fields doesn't play, I will play Sam Darnold, who's looked surprisingly good actually. So shout out Sam Darnold. I'm gonna take Trevion Henderson. Maybe the fumbles are going to actually let him maintain the role that he had at the end of the game. And maybe he won't be, as inefficient as Hampton was when Jacob was panicking about him. And maybe we'll get the actual results that Jacob has been promising with the uptick in usage. So I'm going to go with Jacob's guy, Trevion Henderson. To combat his thievery of Matthew Golden, I'm going to take Romeo Doubs because I can see me talking up Golden and Jacob picking him and then Doubs scoring 2 deep ball touchdowns because it's the Packers. And then to combat Ryan, I've picked Fannin. And I'm going to hope that Fannin may have just been dinged up a little bit / good Packers defense. And maybe the GOAT Max is wrong about something for once. Even though that's rare. So I'm going to go Fannin, and we don't have Lucas's. You guys want to talk about some questions? We're still talking about Jameson Williams in the chat, which I think is kind of insane. I'm assuming JP is a Lions fan. Yes, he got a second contract. Yes, he got $81 million. Yes, he was a top-tier pick, but so was Justin Ross. His role is just what it is, right? And there's nothing wrong with his role. He's valuable to the Lions. They need him, but he's just not the elite target earner that many across the fantasy landscape was hoping for. And there's nothing wrong with that. But that's fine. He's a decent producer. He's a guy that's either going to get you like 20 to 25 or like 10. And that's fine. That's more than okay. Let's dive into some questions, Jacob. Oh, we didn't answer this one. $10 from Peter. I am sorry, Peter. We talk way too much on this bloody program. What percent of Fadge? Oh my Jesus Christ! What percent of Fab would you bid on Luther Burden with a 1K budget? I have a 75%.
Tom, you're underwater, by the way, just so you know. While Tom swims around down there and comes back to join us in the air, man, 1K budget. Like, I'm assuming this is obviously redraft, and it's just impossible for me to answer Fab questions without knowing like all of the specifics. I'm gonna guess that this is like a 12-team Yahoo style league, in which case my answer would probably be like 15 to 20%. If it's a deeper league than that, then like I would bid a ton. But like, I don't know. I try to avoid bidding super aggressively on someone like Burden. I don't think his role is getting that big right away. My guess is the 80% chance he plays the same role next week, doesn't score a touchdown, and you can just get him for not much.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah, if it's redraft, I would say 20%. Yeah, it's a dynasty show. Obviously, if it's dynasty, 100%. But yeah.
Yeah, I have a 7. Again, I have a 75%. And again, like, we're not gonna do this JMO thing like crazy here. But Justin Ross got an $81 million. Obviously, I was kidding, and it was John Ross, not Justin Ross. I don't know if I said Justin, but yeah, it's just that the comment about he was a top 12. A lot of top whatever wide receivers that get drafted don't become elite, and again, that's fine. If you like Justin Ross, you can like him. Or again, I'm thinking I'm Scott pilled right now. Jameson Williams, then go ahead. We triggered the Lions / JMO people again, but he's just not better than Amon-Ra St. Brown, and you just got to deal with it. That is what it is. It's okay. That's okay. We got JP saying Rashee Rice might be the most overrated wide receiver in Dynasty. Rare case of benefiting from not playing. No, benefited from having like over 17 points per game his rookie season when he became a full-time player and averaging over 20 points per game before his own player took him out. Thanks, fat ass Patrick Mahomes. But no, he's very good. His stats back that up. Better than Jameson Williams statistically, actually, JP. But yeah, he's very good. Not overrated, probably appropriately rated right now. Jovi wants to know how high we ranking JSN and Zay Flowers in Dynasty. Jacob, where do you got him?
Yeah, let me just pull up the old Dynasty rankings here. I've got JSN, and I mean, full mea culpa. I was way too skeptical of him this offseason. He's basically tripled his yards per route run from his peak year, and he is all the way up at my wide receiver 6 in Dynasty right now. I have him as a first-round Dynasty asset, 1.12. I have Zay Flowers lower than that. It's so hard when we're dealing with like 3-game sample sizes because now all of a sudden we have these 2 elite games, 1 total dud. It's hard to know what to make of it. I have him at 32, which seems probably way further apart than they should be in actuality. They are 1 tier apart in my Dynasty rankings.
I actually disagree. And I think I said this in your Twitter replies last week, Jacob, but to me, it makes sense that we would just buy into JSN because we saw the role growth in year 2 and we saw the insane role growth plus efficiency plus everything in this offense is just made for him essentially in year 3. And that's awesome. He's an elite scorer. He's an elite Dynasty asset. He's an elite wide receiver. Get up to JSN from Emeka Egbuka. That's a idea I'd love to do. With Zay Flowers, we kind of saw this all last year where he would just have these incredible blow-up games when the Ravens find themselves in these shootouts. But sometimes, even when the Ravens are throwing, and definitely when they're not throwing, he would just be completely mid because
they weren't throwing the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, I know.
They were throwing only to Zay Flowers.
Yeah, it's kind of sorry. In 2024 was very much touch and go with the Ravens pass rate. This year, not like exactly correlated to that, but the point is like the guy has really big games and then really like low scoring games like that. This is what we saw from him last year. I was more skeptical of the first 2 big games pretty much for that reason. And as good as he is, as great of a separator as he is, as great as the offense is, like there are just going to be weeks where the Ravens use all these other options they have. Like Tez Walker is apparently like a real player now, which is wild to me. But yeah, like they can kind of do whatever they want. They're like playing Madden. So yeah, I think it makes sense to have Zay and JSN like genuinely or meaningfully apart. Tom, I think also said earlier that he would take Zay over London. I think that's where I would stop with like the London dissatisfaction. Is I would still take London
if I got enough, though, right? Like I would need. Obviously, I know what the market says. If the market is saying London is more valuable, I get that plus. I'm there. 1 for 1, absolutely not. I'm not, because you don't have to do that.
I don't need much. I have the same tier. I would take not much between them.
Exactly. It's one of those things, right?
I think Zay's just always been really underrated. I thought he was underrated coming into this year. I thought he was underrated as a prospect. I thought he was underrated poster one. Like his per rush stuff is really good. He doesn't really score touchdowns, and that's a problem. But like I think he's always been like deeply underrated, and he's still, if you look averaging out the 3 games, has what, 4th in the NFL in yards per route run right now, elite target per route run. Like he's a really, really good player that I think people have always treated like he's a boring veteran, when I think he's been a young ascending. Like I'm saying, like Zay over JMO in the chat. Like Zay is like fucking 7 universes better than JMO. Give me a fucking
agree
break.
with that.
Like it's like I don't know. I will cape for Zay anytime. I think he's a damn good young improving player who, like, yeah, is JSN better? Sure. And I wasn't saying that Zay should be ranked above JSN at all. But like, I think, like, yeah, I do think Zay belongs in the discussion with Garrett Wilson and Drake London. I do. And I think, not necessarily above those guys, but within that tier. And if you give me a 2 on top, I'll take Zay over those guys for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Jameson Williams has 1 game in his career with over 5 receptions. Like, again, I'm not going to sit here and anger all the Detroit Lions fans. You guys are living in your bliss right now. You're in your, prime Beyonce era. I love that for you. You deserve it after so long of being god awful, but we like to be reasonable here when possible. Let's keep it moving. We got some more questions that I had pinned. We answered the JSN one. John says, Tom, thoughts on your boy Chase Brown? I have him everywhere. Hold strong. Panic time. The upside case for Chase Brown was this unreal offense. The role was great. They're going to score a bajillion points. Now the offense has died because I think Browning sucks. The upside is kind of capped, and there is no more safety in there's no safety that comes with Chase Brown. The touchdown week 1 was sick. I was selling in all the fantasy points, projections, NFL, all the chats. Me and Theo Greminger are internet high-fiving because all of our Chase Brown bags, that touchdown was sick. Bad news, Bears. I'm getting out. I want out. While he still has significant value. I'm taking first and with a little snack on top.
You're not getting that.
I would easily just take a first straight up. Yeah, don't need the snack.
Who's giving the first?
Judging by where, just by searching the consolidation sites, the trade databases, judging off what's going on in our Discord specifically, and the questions.
I've been trying to sell them for way less than that today because I have more Chase Brown than I would like. I tried to get rid of my shares all off season. No one was interested in what I was selling on Chase Brown. I probably could have taken a little less in some circumstances and wish that I did.
You also play with people that think running backs are like.
That's fair. That's reasonable. That is fair. I mean, I have a lot of Chase Brown. Like, luckily, I don't feel like I made any embarrassing Chase Brown acquisitions. I drafted the fucking shit out of him in 2023, and he's mostly just stayed on several of my rosters ever since. He scored a bunch of points, and basically all offseason, I was like, I would move Chase Brown. Everyone's like, yeah, I'd rather do anything than give you any value for Chase Brown. I did turn down a single 26 first in Tundra that I really wish that I'd taken in the offseason. Looking back on it. But
that's homely. Who was it?
Yeah. I could have gotten that off Habib like 2 days before the season started.
Really?
And I I countered. I was like, I need a 2 on top because like it's so hard to do trades in this league. He was like, yeah, I'm good. So would have been nice to dump that on him. But yeah, I've been trying to move off all my Chase Browns before it's like fully too late. What did I say when we talked about Chase Brown in the summer? The arc of the universe does not bend towards Chase Browns. I think that's what I said.
Yeah.
This is the concern with Chase Brown. He's not a bad player. I think he's overhated on. He's also not a very good starter. So like you just have this concern that like someone said in the chat, same thing with Higgins. For this season, yes. But what I'm sure of is that in 2026, T. Higgins is going to be right back to doing T. Higgins things as long as Joe Burrow is healthy, and you're going to have no concerns about it. With Chase Brown, like he has, I think, something like negative 57 yards before contact this year, which is like insane. Their offensive line is garbage. They're 9 points below the next worst in run block grade right now. And they have a quarterback now who's neither good nor mobile. Maybe not even average or mobile. So you have a line that can't block and a team that can't pass. He just has no chance. And I think that it's not going to be his fault, but coaches, organizations, how long are you willing to just continue giving the ball to a guy where every single time you do it, you have a mental memory of associating with it being 2 yards? I just don't know how long that's going to go on. I think he'll probably keep the job this year. But like, I think Zach Taylor's probably getting fired at the end of this year. I hope. I think that they probably explore adding a running back next season. It's at least in the high possibility. Maybe you just luck out and you get all the way back to next year and Chase Brown's just the workhorse again. But that feels like a long way away to me. I would try to get out now because you've got a running back who can't really score that much, and he's going to be dodging bullets like Neo in the Matrix if you want to have him be ever worth a first again.
Simon wants to know, do you send Chase Brown plus 2 seconds for Judkins?
I would.
Yes.
I would.
Yeah.
How many years
I just want to say, just because I feel like I'm the most like guilty Chase Brown party, that I've been telling everybody to dump him this week pretty much. I probably should have been doing that last week. I was just very wrong about how bad this Bengals offense was going to be. Yes, Chase Brown has like 17 expected fantasy points per game or whatever. That doesn't matter. The positive regression doesn't come when your offense is terrible, when you're getting hit behind the line on like a top 3 rate in the NFL, when you are not like such an insanely explosive and amazing player that can create on your own and be an entire offense. Get out of Chase Brown in Dynasty. Get out of him in redraft. I'm telling everybody to sell him for Trey Benson or whoever in redraft.
Sell him for Scatterboo,
like
Benson. I'd probably rather have Jordan Mason even.
Oh, yeah. Mason's away.
It would be like, I'd rather have Judkins in redraft. Obviously, way rather have him in Dynasty. Like my expectation for the rest of the year, I think what I put in Hitchhiker's Guide was like the last 3 weeks of Tony Pollard, where it's like,
that's about
you enjoyed that snap rate? Oh, sorry, you had 8 fantasy points again. And it's like sometimes he'll score a touchdown like Pollard did this week, and it's like you get 14 fantasy points, and that's going to be awesome. But like, it's not going to be even that different, I think, than like last year Rico Dowdle down the stretch. Like it's going to be, there will be games that Browning plays fine and the Bengals are in the whole way through. And in some of those games, Brown will have reasonable efficiency and you'll have like an 18-point week. Hopefully one of those comes quickly so that if you do have Chase Brown and you're holding him and you don't get a good sell this week, you're able to sell at that point. But there's going to be a lot more weeks like this mixed in, I think, along the way.
Yeah. And I'm seeing some people in the chat say like, oh, wait for the spike week and sell. Don't do that. Just try to sell now.
I would.
Yeah, I'm trying to sell now. And if you can't sell, then hope for the spike week. But I wouldn't wait for the spike week.
How many years
if I'm going to defend Chase Brown drafters for 1 second, though, I spent like 1,000 words doing the Hitchhiker's Guide. I'm above weight in Dynasty, but mostly because of like 2 years ago shares. I'm below weight in Best Ball Mania. I didn't draft any of them in the FPC. So I'm not like doing self-cope here. I just think the way that people have jumped on the Chase Brown drafters is like just frankly rude and unnecessary. Like, I don't think this is something that like people need to take something away from. I think that if you went to most Chase Brown drafters in August and you were like, Joe Burrow's going to be out for the season, how do you feel about Chase Brown in round 2? They'd be like, I don't feel very fucking good about it. Like, I think they'd be like, yeah, I'm not into that, champ. Like, I'm drafting him based on Joe Burrow being there. So it's like, I don't know if the year that Peyton Manning went out with an injury and the Colts went 2-14, it's like everyone still got fired. But do you really blame them like for building a team around Peyton Manning? It's like the whole thing was like the whole deal with Chase Brown was I'm willing to take a worse player than other better players going behind him, which I think most drafters would have admitted because of the situation around him is so good. The workload's projected to be so good. It obviously didn't hit because like the 0th percentile outcome happens of Joe Burrow getting hit after 6 quarters. I don't think it was always destined to be that way. Every single player that you can point to, depending on whatever your heuristic is about fantasy, always draft for talent, always draft for situation, always draft rookies, always draft veterans, whatever it is, you can find something to enhance your point of view. I don't think that people were like going in blind with what they were drafting on Chase Brown. It just obviously didn't work out.
How many years does Zach Taylor have left on his contract? Does anyone know?
That's a good question because you're right that he's not getting fired until it's over with how that.
Oh, he only has one more year left. He only has one more year left.
So he'll be there. He'll finish his contract. Like this is the team that kept Marv Lewis around. Like the Bengals are. I'm not kidding. They're too cheap to fire a coach and pay another one. This is the team that is it's the cheapest organization in the game, right? Like it's unreal. Like they make their Ring of Honor players like pay their own way to get honored. It is a dirtbag organization that doesn't even like to pay its players. They're not just paying for another coach. They're going to run it back one more time. But yeah, Zach Taylor, you are the Bengals coach next year for better or worse. So there is a chance they do run it back. That's enough Chase Brown because it's going to make me cry personally. Satoshi, our guy, been waiting patiently on Rashid's return. Am I crazy for wanting to keep him as opposed to T-Mac, which is in my trade inbox? I'm a contender with the strong wide receiver room if that changes. I'm Tet over Rice, personally.
T-Mac over Rice.
Yeah, but I think Rice has come. I think Rashid Rice is just coming right back to his role, and he's just getting hyper-targeted 15 times a game again or whatever it was, and is like in that peak 20 pointer to open last year and then to end his rookie year. I think we're getting 17 to 18 point per game Rashid Rice back because boy does this offense need him badly.
Yeah. And I do think he's going to do that for like 3 weeks, and then he's going to be like the dynasty wide receiver 12 again. Like before you can even blink. Yeah, is kind of how I'm expecting.
Totally possible. Yeah, I think with Rice, one thing I think that you should legitimately factor into Rashid Rice that he is on probation for the entirety of his prime, and he is not a reliable decision maker. So I've basically applied a doc in my rankings that if you do not care about his off-field proclivities, just assume that he is always 1 tier higher than he is in my rankings. I will have him just perpetually lowered by 1 tier based on the fact that if he does anything stupid, and this is a person who seems to do a lot of stupid things, he's going to jail and he's not playing football while in jail. So that's worth a tier doc for me in perpetuity.
Yes.
But outside of that, he's going to come back. He's going to score a ton of points. He's going to score more points than Tat, but I do think Tat's the more complete receiver, higher upside, long-term, higher sort of value upside, 4 years younger, all that stuff.
Well said. That's very well said. John Atlas says, is Ladd's I still like Ladd in Dynasty, but the people in season long saying the Keenan signing had no effect on Ladd never made sense to me. He was an active avoid at cost. How many weeks into the season before you decide that your slightly above, slightly below average team needs to go all in on either tanking or contending? So those are two separate things. I thought that was one long question, but we'll answer the actual question from John. How many weeks into the season before you decide your team slightly above or slightly below? I think 5. I think 5 is a good. Like you still like for Dynasty. I'm assuming obviously, John, you've watched our show a lot. I'm assuming this is Dynasty, but 5 weeks. But I don't think you ever really have to go like all in. I think all in contending is a myth. I don't think it's real. And I also think that leagues should have trade deadlines. You can fight me about that. That's fine. My @ is @ElNostradamus over on Twitter. You can definitely get into a back and forth with me on that. But as for tanking, you need to know like now, if that makes sense, right? If your league is determined by max points for, you got to know, right? You can see kind of if you got injuries or whatever. If you're, nothing. Jesus, my brain is fried this late at night. No other way for me to put it. I already have teams where I'm like, I should probably trade some of these veterans. I don't have a shot. Like this league is determined by max points for. I got to get these guys off my roster. I'm already there in some of them. So I think by now, do you guys have anything different?
My general rule of thumb, and I write my sort of inventory column every year after week 4. It'll be coming again. Spoiler alert next week. Is that if you look historically, I don't have the stat in front of me, but someone wrote about this a long time ago and it always stuck with me. After week 4 of an NFL season is the equilibrium point or the turning point where year-to-date points per game is more predictive of rest of season points per game than preseason ADP. So my rough rule of thumb is that based on that, you more or less know more about your team from the first 4 weeks than you did going into the season. And that's when you should start to really look at your team in a different light based on how it's been performing. And so, yeah, I do a full dynasty inventory after 4 weeks. I go through every single team. I resort what tier I think that they're in, whether I think they're a contender, whether I think that they're a tanker, et cetera, and I try to eliminate TBDs. I have a bunch of TBDs right now in my spreadsheet of teams that I think could go either way. After that week 4 mark, I try to eliminate as many TBDs as possible. I either buy a little or I sell a little or I do whatever I think that I need to do.
Yeah, I think that's very well said. Well said. Sam B. Dude, then he hope for T-Law or his bro cooked. I think T-Law just is what he is.
Please find the clip of me this offseason saying, man, I really hope this doesn't happen, but the funniest possible outcome for all of our Jaguars enthusiasm with Liam Cohen and everything here is that T-Law just ruins everything. And I'm not saying it's like that simple, but that is kind of the world we're in. And it's terrible for my bags, but it is very funny.
I was like pretty close to giving up, but then I watched Nate Tice and Matt Harmon today, and Nate Tice still said that he was doubling down on Trevor Lawrence as a top 10 quarterback, and I was like, "There's somebody else out there." I was like, if Nate Tice is doubling down, then who am I to abandon ship? So
man, you really?
I don't think he's a top 10 quarterback, but I do still think that people, especially Scott Barrett, have Trevor Lawrence derangement syndrome, and I continue to think that he is nowhere near as bad as people act like he is, but he is obviously nowhere near as good as I hoped that he is.
Yeah. Look, I'm a recovered drug addict, Jacob, and I have to tell you, like, we know our own, and you are chasing that one more hit on Trevor Lawrence, and I've just got to tell you, I'm here for you when you're ready.
When did the hit even come on Trevor Lawrence, though? Like, when was the moment when you were like, yeah, I feel really amazing about what Trevor Lawrence put on the field?
The 4 touchdown comeback against the Chargers in the playoffs was pretty sick.
Day 1. Jacob's been on this since day 1.
That second season was really, really enjoyable. And then it's not really been all that enjoyable.
I'm just saying I'm here for you. I've been through the program.
Yeah,
I can.
That showdown slate, exactly. MTM Revolt. That showdown slate was that was like one of the most fun non-Colts games I've ever had. Like I had bet Jaguars in that game. I had like hard faded all of the Chargers in FFPC playoff challenge. I was like big on T-Law, and like obviously it looked, the whole first half people were just mocking Trevor Lawrence like relentlessly because he threw like 3 picks and a half. And then he just balled out. The second half, they had the big comeback, and that was the peak for Trevor Lawrence. And my hope is that the next 10 years of his career is just a really, really elongated version of that, where it's just 3 years of mockery of they had us in the first half, not gonna lie, and then one day we will have our revenge, and it will be long and it will be served cold.
Okay. Again, I'm ready for I'm ready to help you whenever you need, buddy. We got what I assume is a redraft question. Hey, guys, would you trade away Egbuka and Ken Walker to get Brees Hall, Tyreek Hill, and Keenan Allen? No. In any format, I would not do that.
Yeah, I mean, I have Walker and Brees pretty close-ish in redraft. I'm assuming this is a redraft question.
Gotta be a redraft question.
Yeah,
Insane.
yeah.
And I still would say
Walker
no
and
in
Brees
redraft.
within a few spots in redraft. Yeah, just give me Egbuka side.
Yeah, and then $5 from Guy Williams with a sick Ray Lewis jersey. Shout out Ray Lewis jersey, people. Dynasty half-point PPR trade away. I've got to go to bed. Trade away Rice for Ladd.
Ashton, Genty. Oh, all of these guys almost.
I would
all of
take
these. I would trade Rice
Every
for
single
Waddle.
one, yeah. Mhm.
really. I think Rice for Ladd is a genuine conversation, but I would
Yeah, that is.
I would trade him for everyone else. Yeah. Yep. Hopefully that answers your
Yeah,
question.
if you prefer Rice to Ladd, I'm not going to call you crazy. I have Ladd slightly higher, but
I like this one. Call the ambulance, but not for T-Bot.
not yet. Not yet. We will be battered, broken down, and bleeding on the. Look, man, we live in a world where Daniel Jones is like, what, 5th in line to win MVP right now. Like, I've never seen less evidence that I should ever give up on any quarterback I've ever liked. Like, every fucking bad quarterback of all time, eventually it just comes back into our lives, reborn like a phoenix. So like, I can just play the long game with T-Law. Carson Wentz is going to be the new guy now. All of a sudden, like we got Sam Darnold was reborn, Baker was reborn, Geno was reborn, Daniel Jones is reborn. You tell me the upside of white flagging Trevor Lawrence at this point. I mean, how much more mockery can I possibly endure? At some point, he's going to be like 31 years old, starting on, I don't know, like the Carolina Panthers for some 23-year-old wonderkind we don't even know of yet, and he's going to be the new Daniel Jones, and it's going to be incredible. So, yeah, Marcus Mariota is going to be making a Pro Bowl these days. It all comes back.
That's why I await my days of JJ McCarthy rising from the ashes one more time. All right, let's also, I got to shout out Rich Eisen a little bit. Rich Eisen, I'm like a huge fan of his. He's one of the reasons that I like getting behind the microphone, how he operates, right? Like I love the product that he puts out there. Danny Diamonds was one of his, and I'm vibing that one. I like
Indiana
that.
Jones. It's Indiana Jones.
It's good too, but Danny Diamonds, I like that one. We'll see.
I'm gonna watch every single Indiana Jones movie before this week's game.
Don't watch all of them. The last two you could do it.
I'll watch one per week until we lose, which is never gonna happen because the last time the Colts were 3-0, we started 14-0.
Yeah,
but it's gonna be fine because when we pull Jones in the second quarter, like we did with Peyton Manning, Anthony Richardson is not better than much, but he's better than Curtis Painter, so he's gonna hold on to get us the perfect season.
Yadid Rambo said that Anthony Richardson in 2031 is going to hit like.
Yeah, look, if you're an Anthony Richardson truther, just hold strong, man. It's going to come back around.
As a Vikings fan, I look forward to KOC rehabilitating Trevor.
Yeah.
Once McCarthy failed.
There we go.
I love it. He said,
all right, let's do it.
But all right.
Yeah, bring in Trevor as a little veteran backup in like 2027. You know, they don't want to extend JJ. All of a sudden, no, look, Trevor's a little better than we think. Is Trevor actually good? It's going to be great.
You're a psychopath. Oh, my gosh. That's going to do it for the show today, everybody. Much love to all of you guys for sticking it out with us. I love saying this because we've gotten to say it a lot over the last little while. New record for downloads on Dynasty Points. All Dynasty Point shows already hit a new record for a month, and we got another week or so to go. So shout out to all you guys continuing to download and listen, leave comments, leave reviews. It matters so much. Everyone watching, we got over 160 people watching live right now. If you can hit the like button, it's free to do. Helps us out a ton, more than you guys can possibly know. It helps us out a lot. Leave a comment when this show fails. We obviously love the comments we get. That's why we created a whole bit around it. shout out to all you guys. Without you guys, there is no show. We love being here. Look forward to the market report. That's going to come out either Thursday night or Friday morning. And you guys have really liked the mini pods that I've been releasing on Mondays. 15 to 20 minutes of quick hitting market reaction or under reaction every Monday that I do solo. So we'll be 3 shows a week now here for Dynasty Points. We love all you guys. Appreciate you guys. And I cannot wait to see what happens this week. Can't wait for the Ravens to be 1-3 when they lose to Kansas City. And I get to once again be called crazy, even though I know this team. And hashtag never wrong. And Ryan, I'll send you the bet slip so you know what to bet. Jacob, I don't know if we talked about this, but Ryan has yielded in calling me crazy for doubting the Ravens after this weekend, immediately after the fumble. What did I say? Called it, I think is what it's just, there's always something.
Look, I guess, not everybody can be as confident in their team as I get to be in the
oh God,
Indianapolis Colts, the greatest offense in the Super Bowl era. Many are saying.
Did you know
the fewest punts of any team in the Super Bowl era? Did you know that there are 16 teams in the NFL with more losses than the Colts have punts?
That's actually kind of insane. I think this is the first time in Indianapolis Colts history that a quarterback, or maybe NFL history, where a quarterback has had 3 touchdowns passing, 3 touchdowns rushing, and no turnovers ever in the first 3 games.
Yeah. It's just, I've seen a lot of good quarterback play in my life as a Colts fan, but never have I seen anything like this.
Literally,
best quarterback in franchise history.
It is the best start by an Indianapolis Colts quarterback in franchise history. I was watching the Rich Eisen show today.
Ryan can only dream of seeing quarterback play like this as a Patriots fan.
Yeah.
I mean, Tom Brady never reached these heights.
I just want to say my Patriots fan experience this week was normally I'm watching the games by myself. I was watching with a group of more casual football fans, and they did not understand why I was tilting so hard. They were like, "Oh, we get it." "Oh no, the Steelers scored," but I was tilting so hard about the Kenny Gainwell touchdown vulture on the first drive that none of them. I just couldn't explain it to anybody why I was screaming at the television,
incredibly tilting
things about
game.
Arthur Smith. Yeah, it was tilting the whole way through, but yeah.
I watched the whole Patriots game because the Colts game was over real soon. And I had Drake made a Hunter Henry stack with Metcalf in the power sweep lineup, which looked really good for a moment. And so I was watching that game mostly and hoping for May points, and it was I was like, can you guys get it together with the turnovers? It was crazy. They outplayed the Steelers so badly in that game. They should have won by 2 touchdowns. They just could not stop turning the ball over. We'll see what happens with the Patriots next week. But yeah, where's everybody at? I need this temperature check for every podcast that I do. What's your expectations for the Colts this season? Just how high should I dream?
I think that they will be
the median outcome.
I think that they're this year's Houston Texans and will lose in the first round of the playoffs, but they win their division.
We'll take a division banner, man.
Yeah, I think that's probably about right.
Yeah, hang another banner.
God, I can't wait to hang a banner. It's gonna be great.
I think they pull the Texans. They overachieve, and then when
we'll be in that Saturday afternoon slot. You can
that classic slot. I think they'll get beat down.
The AFC South Memorial right there.
It's going to be Baltimore.
2025 AFC divisional runner-up.
It'll be Baltimore.
Oh, it's going to be good.
Baltimore will limp in the wild card. It'll be Baltimore.
Wait, how's Baltimore not going to win the division? Their division.
They're going to be 1-3. After
who's winning the division then?
It would end up being Pittsburgh somehow.
I don't think it's going to be Pittsburgh.
Not happening. I just watched the Pittsburgh Steelers for 60 minutes of football.
I don't think it's going to be Pittsburgh.
Guys, I understand. I hear what you're saying. But a team being 1-3, if they end up losing to the Chiefs this weekend and winning their division,
8-9 will get it done in that one.
The Ravens are going to Saints their way in. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe we'll get the 3 seed. No, I think it's I probably agree with you, but the one thing I realized, I watched also most of the Jacksonville Texans game, And my takeaway from that was I was like, we can start printing AFC South banners. Like these teams fucking blow.
We got it on lock. All right, we got to get out of here. A little bit of bonus, just casual combo for Dynasty Points. But yeah, Sean, I was trying to find the stats. I'll text them to you. The stats I got from the Rich Eisen show on Daniel Jones and the Colts. It's absolutely crazy. He is the literal greatest start in Colts history. It is unbelievable. So I love that for you. Love that for everyone watching. We'll see you guys next week. Dynasty Points, the greatest place to be on a Tuesday night on the internet. We'll see you guys next week.
What?
Why are you shaking your head? You're welcome.